Welcome to Psychic Insights, where pop culture meets higher consciousness and the tea is always a little bit mystical. I'm Robin Richardson, your psychic girlfriend, and around here we don't just watch the drama unfold. We read the energy behind it, whether it's celebrity scandals, reality TV, chaos, or true crime with a twist. I'm tuning in to bring you the intuitive scoop the headlines miss. So buckle up, because your aura's about to get entertained. Welcome back to my channel. It's Robin Richardson, your psychic girlfriend, and this is another episode of Psychic Insights. And today we're diving into another inquiry about the Lynette Hooker case. And if you're not following this, man, you should be. So just to catch you up, Lynette Hooker and her husband, Brian Hooker, were live aboard. They lived on their sailboat, the Soulmate, and they were in the Abacos Islands, the Bahamas, and she went missing about 7 weeks ago. And I've done a couple episodes on this. And an audience member, thank you so much, asked a question, where's Brian? So I thought we would take a look at cards and, kind of answer those things. But I want to, before I say anything or go into this, I want to remind everybody that these are real people involved. Brian Hooker has not been charged with anything yet. Lynette is still missing. And there are the real people connected to this story. So I want to be very sensitive. These are my psychic opinions, my thoughts, my commentary, and they're for entertainment purposes only. All right. So I picked my Lenormand cards because I love these cards so much. They tell me a story. And one of the questions that came up was, where's Brian Hooker? And will Lynette Hooker's story come to a resolution? So let's dive in. All right. The cards I pulled were to ask the question of where is Brian Hooker? I pulled house, ship, pretty interesting, right? Ring, heart, Stork, and then for clarity, the cross card. All right. And that's my clarifier card, the cross. And immediately I thought, this isn't just about geography. It's about emotional geography. This is about what someone is carrying. And so the house and the ship together represents home. And remember the ship, remember he lived on a sailboat. But the home also represents family, security, roots, a place we return to when we feel overwhelmed. And the ship is also about distance, movement, travel, separation from what is familiar. And when these two cards are together, they often create a feeling of displacement. So the image that comes to mind is someone who's connected to home, but also separated from it. Isn't that interesting, right? Someone whose life has been disrupted, no longer feels stable, and it symbolically suggests a person whose relationship with home and normalcy has fundamentally changed. My intuitive spidey senses say that he's probably bouncing from home to home. He may be just traveling. There were reports that he went to see his mother. That could represent home. But I feel like this back and forth energy. So I feel like he's all over the board. All right. So then we move into the ring and the heart together. And this is where the reading becomes emotional. The ring represents commitment, partnership, promises, obligations, agreements we make with others, and the heart represents love, emotional attachment, also grief. So the things we care about most deeply. And when these cards appeared together, I didn't feel the secrecy. I felt I didn't feel calculation, I felt emotion. And these cards seem to be focused on the relationship and the impact those relationships have on a person's life. So whatever people want to think about this case, these cards suggest that relationships and emotional bonds remain central to this story. So my feeling is he is suffering from grief, from realization of the current circumstance, and a lot, like, I want to say heart connection to and loss. Okay. Then we have the Stork and the Cross together, and the Stork is about powerful change. It represents life transitions, life shifts. And then the moment I pulled Cross, that adds the weight, responsibility, burden, pain, difficult lessons, the kind of experience that changes a person forever. And when we put this whole entire story together, what emerged was home, distance, commitment, emotion, change, burden. And these cards seem less interested in telling us exactly where this person is physically and more interested in showing us what someone is carrying emotionally. And I think that's important, because sometimes the story isn't about location, it's consequences, it's grief, it's the emotional weight of events that cannot be undone. My feeling is that he is in Michigan, possibly going back and forth to other places, and it's just kind of the feeling of keeping moving, all right? So then we have the second question, and this is one that many of us are just holding in our hearts. Will Lynette be found? And again, I want to be really careful here, because no psychic, card reader, and an intuitive can replace facts. So only evidence can answer that question. But I do want to address this, because the themes that popped up when I asked about this, the cards were Crossroads, Anchor. Can't make this stuff up, people. Child, mice, whip, and coffin. So let's walk through them. When we have Crossroads, this tells me the story is filled with unanswered questions, possible multiple paths. And as of this recording, which is June 3rd, I feel like the Coast Guard, the investigators, are going to different paths to locate her. So it could be a bunch of possibilities here, a situation that hasn't fully emerged. I kind of expect that we are going to get something concrete soon. The Crossroads also appears when people are searching for direction, searching for truth, searching for answers, and the energy of this card feels exactly like what many people following this case are experiencing. Then we have the Anchor, which is fascinating because it represents something that remains, something fixed, something that doesn't drift away. And Anchor also speaks to persistence, determination, holding steady despite uncertainty. And I kept hearing this phrase, the search continues, but also she's anchored. Okay, so she's anchored somewhere, meaning that she's probably in the water, tied down somewhere, or anchored somewhere, or close to where they anchored. Okay, so this is very interesting to me. All right, so then we have the Child. And this often represents something new, information that's still, something that's not yet emerged fully, but information that's continuing to be developed and emerging, details that haven't reached full maturity, and it can indicate a situation where people are still trying to piece together the puzzle, which they are, okay? So something important may exist beneath the surface, but has not been fully revealed. All right, so then we have the mice. Mice is loss. It's erosion. So my feeling is body decomposition. You know the word. So there's also stress and anxiety around this, the slow wearing down that occurs when uncertainty continues for an extended period. This could be the child, her child, feeling this, okay? And the longer that these questions remain unanswered, the more exhausting the experience becomes for everyone involved. So remember, child can also mean the actual child of Lynette. All right, so then we have the whip, because remember this is around Lynette. Then we have the whip, and this often represents repeated conversations. So if you go back to Carly, her daughter, many, many conversations. This can also mean actually with Lynette, conflict, So pressure. Difficult questions that continue to surface. The image that I get is not this. The story is not disappearing. Is a story continuing to be examined. Repeated patterns. There may be with some of the people that started this investigation. It could be that they are feeling bad about how things were handled initially. And this will continue to generate questions, and the story itself will continue to demand attention. So this is our whip. And then we have Coffin. And whenever Coffin appears, people become nervous. And sometimes Coffin doesn't have to be negative, right? It can be completion. So closure. So with the question of will Lynette be found, this could mean this chapter will be closing and she will be found, and it will be the beginning of another chapter. What happened to her and who's responsible. So when I look at this whole spread, it's not just about location. It could be, it could be a journey emotionally, and it's a journey that's going towards resolution. And it's not necessarily quick and it's not necessarily easy, but there is movement. When I look at both of those questions together, a theme emerged. It's truth, not sensationalism, not speculation, but truth. And the first spread talked about emotional burden. The second spread talked about search for answers. And perhaps that's why many people remain invested in this story, because beneath every headline is a human being, a family, friends, and people whose lives have been permanently altered. So whether you're approaching this story or this case from a legal perspective, a psychological perspective, a spiritual perspective, or simply as someone who cares about people, I think we can all agree on one thing. We hope for truth, we hope for clarity, we hope for answers, and we hope for resolution to Lynette's story. And I hope that everyone affected finds the support they need as this story continues to unfold. So I'd love to hear your thoughts. Remember to like and subscribe. What stood out to you with these cards? What did you get? Because a lot of us, when we're paying attention to these stories, we are in the energy. We may receive our own messages, our own inspiration. So let me know what themes are emerging for you and what questions you are still holding as you follow this case. And of course, if you've enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe. And if you like this kind of content, go to my other stories. Ring the bell so you don't miss anything, and share it with someone who might like this sort of content. And again, thank you again. I appreciate your support. Remember to be kind in the comment section. I'm Robin Richardson, your psychic girlfriend, and I'll see you in the next one.